She came to America chasing dreams, but left in a coffin. It was just after 10 a.m. on a quiet Monday morning in Charlotte, North Carolina. The city was waking up slow, coffee shops filling, traffic humming, and the light rail sliding down its steel tracks like any other day. Inside one of those cars sat a young woman named Iryna Zarutska. She was 28, a Ukrainian refugee who had escaped war and chaos back home. In Charlotte, she'd finally started to feel safe. She had a small apartment, a part-time job, and plans for the future, maybe school, maybe something creative. That morning, she was just riding the train like everyone else, earbuds in, scrolling her phone, lost in her thoughts. A few seats behind her sat a man no one paid much attention to. He looked restless, muttering to himself, pacing the aisle. Passengers noticed him, but they looked away. You learn to mind your own business in public places. The train rumbled on. No one knew that within minutes, it would turn into a crime scene that would shock an entire city. Witnesses later said the man had been watching her for several stops, staring, moving closer every few minutes like a shadow inching forward. Iryna didn't seem to notice, or maybe she didn't want to make eye contact. She'd survived bombs and air raid sirens. A random stranger on a train probably didn't seem like danger. But then, in a flash, everything changed. The man lunged forward. He pulled a knife and stabbed her once, then again and again. The train car erupted in screams. People ran to the doors, hammering the emergency buttons, shouting for help. A security camera caught it all. The senseless brutality of a moment that lasted less than 30 seconds, but felt endless to those who saw it. When the train screeched to a stop at the next station, passengers poured out in panic. Some were crying, some were frozen in shock. A few tried to help, but it was too late. Iryna Zarutska was gone before paramedics arrived. Police swarmed the scene, yellow tape wrapping around the platform, officers shouting orders. The man, later identified as Shahzad Nasir, 32, had fled down the tracks, vanishing into nearby streets before officers could reach him. A manhunt began almost immediately. The city had questions. How could something like this happen in broad daylight on public transit with cameras everywhere? And who was this woman whose name no one knew yet? The quiet passenger who just wanted a normal life. As investigators pieced together her story, the tragedy deepened. Iryna had come to the U.S. in 2023, escaping the Russian invasion of Ukraine. She'd survived shelling in her hometown, lost friends, and traveled halfway across the world to start fresh. Charlotte had been kind to her. Neighbors said she smiled easily, always polite, always thankful. She had made it out of a war zone, only to die on a train in America. Police released surveillance footage that same evening. It showed the suspect getting off the train, walking calmly through a parking lot, knife still in hand, disappearing into a neighborhood. His face was clear. The video spread across social media like wildfire. People were angry, scared. The mayor called it a senseless act of violence. Transit authorities promised new security measures, more officers on trains, more cameras. But for Iryna's friends and family, none of that mattered anymore. Over the next 48 hours, the entire city seemed to join in the search. Tips poured in. Detectives followed leads across counties. Finally, late Wednesday night, police found him, hiding behind an abandoned building near uptown Charlotte. When they moved in, he didn't resist. He just looked up and said nothing. The arrest brought relief, but no peace. Court documents revealed that Nasir had a history of mental health issues and previous minor assaults. He was known to police. People started asking, how many warnings does it take before someone this dangerous kills? At the same time, the internet was filled with tributes to Iryna. Her Instagram photos showed an ordinary, hopeful life. Coffee with friends, city lights, a few shots of her smiling near murals downtown. The contrast between those pictures and the brutality of her death was unbearable. On the morning of her memorial, dozens gathered at the light rail station where it happened. Flowers covered the benches. Ukrainian flags waved gently in the wind. A soft recording of her favorite song played from someone's phone. One woman whispered, "She came here to be safe." Another said, "She deserved better." The case soon made national headlines. News anchors talked about the refugee who escaped war only to die on a train. Politicians argued about public safety and mental health reform. But underneath all of that noise was one chilling truth. Violence doesn't need a reason. In police interviews, Nasir offered none. No motive, no words, just silence. Detectives described him as detached, emotionless. Some believed he didn't even know who she was. Others thought he had fixated on her randomly. For the investigators who had seen hundreds of crimes, this one stuck. It was the randomness that haunted them. The idea that evil can just step onto your train one morning, sit a few feet behind you, and decide your fate. Weeks later, when prosecutors announced they would seek life without parole, the community breathed a little easier. But for many, the fear lingered. Commuters looked around nervously on the rides, noticing every stranger, every sudden movement. Iryna's story became more than a crime report. It became a mirror, a reminder that no matter how safe we think we are, danger can find us anywhere. Her friends described her as strong, brave, and full of hope. She had survived explosions and hunger and loss, and somehow, even in her new life, she carried that strength with quiet grace. One of her co-workers later said, "She used to tell me she was finally sleeping without fear again." That line hit people hard because now everyone knew she should have had more mornings, more train rides, more time. The surveillance video of her final moments has never been released publicly, and maybe that's for the best. What remains instead is a portrait. A young woman who wanted peace and met violence, and a city forced to look at itself differently afterward. Today, the Charlotte light rail cars still glide down those same tracks. People still board them, coffee in hand, headphones on. But if you look closely, you can see small memorial stickers near the seats, little blue and yellow hearts with her initials, IZ. They're quiet reminders that tragedy doesn't always come from shadows. Sometimes it rides right next to us. And somewhere in a concrete jail cell downtown, Shahzad Nasir sits alone, the man who took a refugee's dream and turned it into another American nightmare. No one knows if he feels guilt or anything at all. But the city hasn't forgotten. Every screech of the train's brakes, every echo through the tunnel carries her name in silence. Iryna Zarutska. She escaped a war, only to meet another kind of violence, one that wore no uniform and carried no flag, just a knife and a moment of madness.